Okay, we're live. Welcome to Swift Contractors Corner, everybody that decided to join today. I'm Jeff Morton, and this is my compadre, Charlie. And you probably heard from us already before. So for those of you that haven't, Charlie and I have both been owner-operators at Swift for pretty much our entire trucking careers. I started as an owner-operator in 2007 and mentored as an owner-operator, and now I'm solo owner-operator. Charlie, when did you start?
Started with Swift in 2008 as an owner-op in 2009.
Yeah, so both of us went owner-op basically 1 year to the day, in my case, from the time we joined Swift. So the whole purpose of our little broadcast today is to answer any questions that people have about becoming an owner operator, and talk about some best practices before you even sign a contract. So, Charlie, do we have anybody in at all yet?
Not yet. No questions yet.
Okay. So, I guess we'll just do some narration then for a little bit here. So the first thing that I always ask people that approach me about the owner-operator program at Swift is, why do you want to be an owner-operator? If you can't answer that question, I got to be honest with you. I just kind of say, well, okay, we need to answer that question first. Because without a strong why, you're just going to fail. Let's just put that out there.
Right.
For me, I just love the game. I love business. This is not my first business. I've done everything. I mean, the first foray into business I went into was actually when I was about 9, and I recycled newspapers. It was something that my dad kind of made me do, but I figured out I could make money doing that. And I was the only kid on the block that was able to buy his own bike. So
Right.
At 9 years old. So that was my first experience in business. And then I've been a computer consultant, landscaper. Those two businesses failed miserably. But anybody that's an entrepreneur and business minded will tell you that the lessons that you learn from those failures are at least as important as the successes.
Right.
So that brings me to my venture into trucking. It is by far the most successful business that I've had. And I've carried over lessons from that. Charlie, what was your motivation there?
So, you know, a lot like you, I started working really young, man, and I liked making my own money. I didn't want to have to ask someone to give me money, of course, right? You know, Mom, can I have $1 for candy? And that was never fun. You know what I mean? Coming from a middle class family, single mom, you know, all that stuff, and you know, she worked hard for her money, and I hated asking her for it. So, you know, like you, I started making money on my own. I got a paper route, and I was like, oh, this is great, right? So I got 2 paper routes, and I was killing it, man. I was making great money. My friends were like, well, you know, how'd you get a new bike? I got me 2 paper routes, you know, and then I got into construction, pounding nails, and I loved doing that, but it was going to kill me, physical work, right? You know, and so, I mean, I started working, I guess I was 8 years old with my first paper route, and I did that for 2 years, got into work in commercial fishing on a sport boat. I was a deckhand on a sport boat at 10 years old. That was great, man. I cleaned the decks and I baited hooks and all that kind of stuff. Again, making my own money. I dug that, you know. And so fast forward into my adult life after doing construction, you know, I went in the military, and then I destroyed my body in the military. And I'm like, well, damn, I got to find something. And well, I love driving. You know what? Let's try that. And, you know, I came in 2004. I started with FFE, and I hated it, running 3 logbooks and, you know, having to tell all them lies. And it's just not me. I was terrible at it. And I mean, I could make the best logbook you ever saw. Couldn't tell you about it because I couldn't tell the lies behind it. So I left FFE, and I ended up coming to Swift in 2008. You know, I took a couple years off of trucking, and I swore I'm never going to be an owner op. Never going to be an owner op. And here's my reason. This is the reason that brought me into being an owner op. Mind you, if we back up just a little bit, I actually ran a private investigation firm. So I did run my own business at one point, and it wasn't horrible. And, you know, it was good money in Florida. Then fast forward to 08, I don't want to be an owner op. Those guys are nuts. They're out of their minds. You know, why would they do that? That's crazy. In 2009, Swift told me because I lived over 100 miles from the terminal, I can no longer take my truck home, right? And I had to clean it out, and I had to leave it at the terminal, and someone else might be issued my truck, and I might have to wait. And I said, well, that sounds crazy. That's how I became an owner op. Probably not a great reason to become an owner op, but out of pure damn stubbornness, you know, 12 years later, I'm still here. I made a lot of expensive mistakes, mistakes, you know, you hear all the time, education is expensive. Well, I'm here to tell you the education I got was super expensive, and it lost me so many, you know, different in miles, in downtime, in lost revenue, or, you know, just stupid mistakes, you know, paying taxes late. I mean, holy crap, will that get to you? You know, so with those sort of things, you know, that's kind of where Jeff and I are at now, is we've made most of the mistakes. I'm sure there's a couple we could find out there still that we haven't done yet, but we've made most of those mistakes, and we guide people all the time. And we can steer most people through a lot of these problems. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Excellent. So that's us. Looks like we already have a couple of questions in here. And actually, the first one's better for Charlie than for me. Would you say OTR is dedicated? Would you say OTR or a dedicated is better for an owner operator? And the reason I want to push this to Charlie is because he does more dedicated stuff than I do. I'm mostly an OTR guy. The short answer is yes and no. It depends on how you want to run your business. And Charlie can explain that a little more here.
So that came from Joey Barstow. So Joey, check this out. So with I do a lot of surge. I've been full-time dedicated with Walmart. I was dedicated with Cabela's when we were establishing that account. They have their pluses and their minuses. I'm not a fan of the dedicated accounts that have a lower mileage rate for the dedicated account. You know, there's accounts out there, you know, our base rate right now is $1.12 a mile for anything over 801 miles plus fuel surcharge. On some of these dedicated accounts, you may only get 95 cents a mile plus your fuel surcharge, or there could be a modified fuel surcharge. Every one of these dedicated accounts has a different rate package for them, and it really depends on whether or not you're going to be okay and be able to make it. I mean, you know, with a lease truck and a lower mileage rate, that's there's something there to consider. I mean, you're going to make less money. The upside is that if you make it through your lease and you get to the end of your lease and you buy that truck out, well, now you have a tangible, you have an asset that is worth money to you, right? So you lose that truck payment, and now all of a sudden you're up $500 a week from what you were making before. So, you know, a dedicated account that's paying a lower mileage rate to get you home every night, or, you know, every weekend off, you know, those are some things that you have to weigh. But I prefer, what I've found over the last couple of years is I run a lot of surge accounts. So I've built relationships with these different accounts, Temple, Texas, Walmart, Target in Lake City, you know, things like that, to where when they need people, they call me and they say, hey man, you in the area? Can you be in the area? And I will make sure that I'm in that area to go work those accounts, so that I get my full OTR rate and I get the benefit of being on a dedicated account, you know, loaded miles round trip and all that kind of stuff. But Jeff has been OTR, I think, your entire time, right?
Yeah, I've never done, I'll do surges. And the reason for that is exactly what Charlie was saying, is I'm not willing, for my goals, I'm not willing to give up those pennies a mile to sign on to, in my area, it would be Grandview, Washington Walmart account. I'm not willing to do that. But I'll go in and do surge. My favorite place to do that is the Walmart in Opelika, Alabama. I mean,
Yeah, that's a really good account.
Charlie's probably tired of hearing me brag about that. but you go into these places, and when they need your help, man, as an owner operator, and they're willing to pay you your full rate to help them, and you do a good job. The standard is 2 weeks at a DC, and then they kick you out because they can't afford you, because their contracts. What a lot of people don't realize is that the pay that an owner operator or a company driver makes at a dedicated account is directly related to the contract that they have with that facility. And so that's why you'll see people, oh, I didn't get the raise this last time. Well, wait until the contract is renegotiated with that DC and see what happens. So because of that, we're making more OTR mileage wise than what that DC might be willing to pay, unless they need help. So if you're doing the surges and you're doing a good job and you're getting the freight to the stores, no problem at all, that 2 weeks turns into 4 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, or in Charlie's case, years. And it's all about that customer service. You can work that customer service and work that relationship and if they see value in your business, in your truck, in you, they'll be like, hey, we don't mind paying that extra to keep you around here because we really need your help. So, hey, Tina, Brewster's on there. Cool. Somebody's asking about the down payments. Charlie, did you get into that with
I don't know exactly what their current numbers are. I know on the MRP trucks recently there was no down payment.
Okay.
And when they're talking about new trucks, they're talking about a truck with 0 miles on it. 10 miles, 100 miles. That's a new truck. The 21 and up, 22s, I think they're putting out now. I don't know if we have any 22 lease trucks yet or not.
I think they're prioritizing that MRP and the MRP lease is the one that Charlie and I have decided to get behind a little bit. I drive a 2016 Freightliner, and the MRP leases are, the last I saw, were between 2016 and 2018 trucks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they're 18 and 19, 17 and 18.
Yeah, so they've probably gone through all the 16s, all the really old trucks like mine. But the thing is that your lease payment is going to be lower on that, no down payment apparently. And then your buyout at the end is insanely low.
Right. So the buyout's only like $11,000.
Yeah. So over the term of the lease, it's one of those things that if you can't save $11,000 in 3 years, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the business already.
It's a really great way to, if you can't afford to go out to Aero Truck Sales or whoever and get a truck, or if you don't have the credit score to get a truck, which is a real problem, by the way. I mean, the credit score is required to get a truck these days, is the last time I checked into it, you had to be up in the 700s.
Right. And
a lot of truck drivers just don't have that kind of credit for whatever reason. I'm not making
and a business history.
Here. And a business history. Yeah, you got to have both for a commercial truck. So it's a good way to get in at a relatively low cost and lower risk than I experienced. Because under that MRP lease, you got repairs that are covered that I didn't have. Now,
right.
Sure, I had a new truck warranty, but as anybody that's owned more than one brand new truck will tell you, that warranty is not worth the paper that it's scribbled on half the time. When you're dealing with warranty repairs, you get put in the back of the line.
Right.
So a repair that should take a day takes you 5, simply because, oh, that's a warranty repair. We've got this other guy that's paying cash. He goes first.
That's this guy right here.
Yeah. So the MRP lease is less risky than other lease purchase programs that Charlie and I have looked at. So that's why we we've told the leadership that, yeah, we're willing to get behind that in our contractors corner arena. And we think that that's a good way to get into business. If you really want to get into business and you don't want to take, the 2-3 years to build your credit and come up with a $10,000-$15,000 down payment, so a bank will finance you on the outside.
I mean, ultimately, I personally believe the absolute best way to do this is to, have 30 grand in the bank, go out and buy a truck outright. Can't go wrong, buy a 2000, I drive a '07 Freightliner. I paid $42,000 for it. If you can walk out and buy that truck outright and bring it in, you're gold. I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing that stops you from doing anything you want to do at that point. Not everybody can do that. It's going to take a long time for some people to save that kind of money, so unless you got some sort of windfall happening, a lot of people are going to do it, which is what brings you back to, well, okay, here we are. I don't have a 700 credit score. I don't have $35,000. I don't have a business history, but I really want to get into running my own business in trucking. So that leaves you into something like this, where you're going to have to lease. I'm not a big fan of leasing a brand new truck. I think and I've done several. I think it's a lot of money out of your pocket. I looked at every one of my brand new leases, though, as rentals. Honest to God, I never had any intention of paying the $52,000 balloon payments on those trucks. They were a means to an end. My first lease truck, I had a plan to save enough money to put a down payment on a truck that I would purchase on the outside, which is the Freightliner I drive today. I've personally put over 1 million miles on that truck since I've owned it. I bought it. It had 492,000 miles. I'm over 1.5 million now. I've rebuilt the motor. I've rebuilt the transmission. I do a ton of work myself. I've learned how to make, minor repairs, replace airbags. My wife, Rosie, replaces stuff. I do videos with her where she's replacing airbags and shocks and things like that. These aren't difficult things to do, but those little bits add up so quick. It cost me, I can't remember. I did a video on changing airbags on the cab, and I believe I paid under $100 for the airbags themselves at Freightliner, $20 scissor jack from Walmart. It took less than 7 minutes per airbag, and the entire job was done. The TA wanted to charge me over $400 to do the exact same thing. What does the MRP
not cover?
So that, I could probably pull up that. I had that contract somewhere. If you reach out to someone like Joanna Sims or Michelle Cantrell, those are my go-to people in the recruiting department. They're definitely have the technical answers to that type of a question. I would definitely say reach out to Joanna or Michelle, and they'll send you a copy of the lease. It'll tell you exactly what is covered, what is not covered, what's expected. And what a lot of, this kind of brings me to something else, is a lot of people get this lease contract, and it's keep in mind, you're talking about two different contracts. One to lease the truck, one where you lease the truck to Swift. So a lot of people don't understand that it's actually two separate contracts. The one that you're talking about is going to be the one that on the MRP program, and it will clearly lay out. I know that I've read it, I've seen it over and over. It clearly lays out what is covered, what is not covered, how it's covered, what percentage, and that sort of thing. So definitely on something like that, reach out to Joanna Sims or Michelle Cantrell. Like I said, those are my go-to. I've dealt with them, 12 years now. And I really enjoy those two people, and I have absolute trust and faith in those two women.
Okay, so that brings up a good point too. So, a lot of times when Charlie and I are fielding questions on Facebook, in the different Facebook groups, the answer to someone's question is literally in their contract. So, as you think about becoming an owner operator, and they will send you the contract to look over, do that. The 3 trucks that I've leased from our IEL, it typically takes me a full day to go through the contract, because it's no different than buying a house or a car. or anything else you're using credit for, you need to know what that contract says. What are you responsible for? What is Swift going to reimburse you for? All of that is in the contract. So make sure that you do that. You take the time to do that. Also, as long as you aren't a brand new driver, they wouldn't come in. Okay.
That was in reference to Richard Root had asked, are they set on the minimum amount of time you have to be with Swift, or can that time be shorter? They are set on the amount of time that you need to have been at least at Swift.
Yeah, isn't it like 6 months now? Or did they shorten that with the MRP?
I believe I want to say it's 3 months, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Now that brings me to another good point too, Charlie. That we were working. We've worked with people in the past that were trying to get an IEL lease, and to get an IEL lease, they do have some requirements. You have to have so many miles a month for 3 months. You have to be with Swift for at least three to 6 months, whatever it is. That actually changes enough to
it
where
really does.
I can't say I really know. At one point it was a year. I think it's been as low as 2 months at one point.
Right.
The standard seems to be between 3 and 6. But that's the other thing is if you contact Joanna Sims, and talk to her about this, she will actually pull up your company information, and she'll tell you point blank whether she thinks that you're going to be successful based on your mileage that you've been doing the last couple months. And she won't. She's a nice lady. She's not going to like degrade you or anything. So don't worry about that. But she's just really honest about how she'll look at it and say, well, here's what I'd like to see you do before you lease a truck. Because from what I'm seeing, and I think Charlie had this happen to him his first time out, that from what she sees right now, your odds of success are lower than she'd like to see it. And she'll tell you exactly what you need to do. Whether you do it or not is up to you. It depends on if you really want to be an owner operator. So, is your name? Oh, anyway. So yeah, Charlie, you want to say anything about that?
So actually on the time thing real quick, I got a message in the background just now about it. And Matt's a good friend of mine and a owner operator as well. He runs a Target account up in New York, and he's making he's killing it up there. Look, anyhow, so he had pointed out that we can now have people coming in from the outside into Swift and becoming owner ops. My understanding of that is if they're an owner op from another company, let's say they're leased to Schneider or whomever, Swift will allow them to come here, lease a truck, and not have any time at Swift as a company driver. That's my understanding. As far as someone who's in Swift as a company driver who's never been owner op, they're going to say you need to have been at the company. I swear it's 3 months, but don't quote me on that. And I will get the absolute answer on that. But they want to know that you're going to be able to run in this system and make enough miles to support that truck. They figure someone coming from the outside that's leasing somewhere else has that basic knowledge to do that, and they're not as worried about that. They don't want to lease you a truck and take it back. It completely screws up their business side of it. It's just not good for them. In the past, there have been different ways that this has happened, and I can tell you that the leasing program now versus the leasing program 15 years ago are black and white different. The goal now is they want you to succeed. They want you to buy that truck out. They want you to that's why they made the balloon payment so small. They're selling off this used inventory because now they get that liability covered. They've given you a way to actually own the truck to where you can make more money, and that in turn brings more people to Swift into that program. So from a marketing standpoint, they want you to succeed. From a business standpoint, they want you to succeed. That's why they've, changed these leasing programs so drastically, because they want this to work. They don't want to seem predatory like, people claimed it was in the past, and nobody wants any more $100 million lawsuits. I mean, come on. That was just a nightmare for 20 years, right? So nobody wants to deal with that kind of stuff anymore. So the business model has changed for the leasing company, for Swift, for everybody involved, and they're adapting and they're growing and they're becoming something that's much better than I believe it was 15 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as Charlie and I have talked with Brett Stewart and some other people, his vision is really focused on this truly win-win scenario for all of us. He wants to make sure that Swift's making money, obviously, because he's the Swift vice president, right? So he's a higher up and his job is to make his division, the owner operator division, profitable. Well, how do you do that? You make sure that the owners are profitable, because the more profitable we are, the more profitable Swift is. And he has reiterated that with us time and time and time again. That's his end game. He wants to build the owner operator division. So we're kind of back to when I first started in 07. Jerry Moyes was just coming back into the picture. Basically, he had just done his little whatever he did, and he was wanting to do that. And then we kind of got away from that for a long time. And now we're back to this, let's build the owner operator division. So as far as timing goes, this is also a really good time if you've thought about being an owner operator for whatever reason. And I just want to say also that my first question of why do you want to be an owner operator, there really is no wrong answer to that. I mean, if you're just focused on money, I mean, that's up to you, man. It's not me. It's not Charlie. We have a different philosophy, but you've just got to solidify that in your mind. If you're going to do it for the money, do it for the money and focus on that. So right now, because of the way Brett is revamping a little bit, I mean, we're not seeing a whole lot of it on our end. I think a lot of it's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But he really wants to grow the division, at least back to where it was in the mid 2000s, because we went through a time there where, gosh, it was tough. We had trucks with new emission systems that were breaking down all the time, and guys are going out of business just for that. I almost went out of business because of that. I had a 2012 Freightliner with the brand new DPF system on it that just about put me in the poorhouse, man.
Right.
And it's a good time to get into this. So whatever your reasons are, if you've thought about it, reach out to us individually or just talk to Joanna or one of the other owner operator recruiters and get that contract in your hands so you can start understanding it. Because that's really the first step, is understanding that contract and what you can and cannot do under that contract. One of the coolest things we can do, by the way, is if I just get pissed off for whatever reason, things aren't going my way, and I'm in Georgia, I live in Oregon, and I'm just like, the world's against me, and I'm over it. I can take my truck and go home, and nobody can tell me not to do that.
Right.
That is, to me, one of the best things about being an owner operator, is I'm not limited by having a company truck and nope, you can't do that. You're 150 miles away from home. We're going to get you a load that gets you 50 miles away from home. No, man, I'm going home.
Right.
If I want to stay out for 3 months, I stay out for 3 months. If I want to stay out for 2 weeks and take a week off, I can do that. Now there's consequences to that.
Absolutely.
That company drivers don't have. I do have a payment still. I'm on the buyout part of my IEL lease. I finally got wise, and Charlie beat me over the head enough to where I'm buying this truck. But in 6 more months, I will have that truck completely paid off and it'll be mine. And so my fixed costs go way down to almost nothing. And so that consequence is much less at that point. Charlie and I were just going through my profit and loss statements before we got on here. And Really the difference between owning a truck outright and not owning a truck, I was looking at it going, gosh, I could just hardly wait. I don't show emotion on my face too much, but guys, trust me, I'm excited. Spend more time with my family, my kids, all that, and not have to stroke a $750 check to Swift when I do that because I fell behind.
Yeah, no doubt. And like with my truck being paid for, Jeff has a note still, so he's looking at 600 a week and that sort of thing. But I don't have a truck payment. So my truck note or my expenses, my fixed expenses every week are $200.75. And that's because I pay an extra $30 for my accounting fee because I have an LLC. I pay an extra $34 to workman's, basically the owner ops version or independent contractor version of workman's comp, OCAC as it is known, because my wife drives teams with me. Yet we don't work hard team miles. She and I believe we did 130,000 miles last year, and I used to do that solo as a company driver. And she and I did that combined, yet we, still managed to bank six figures, and we were off 19 weeks last year. We took 19 weeks off for the year. It's nice when it only costs you $200 a week to let your truck sit in the yard versus, $700, $1,000 a week to sit there. And then you're chasing that truck note. That's why I want people to own their truck. That's why I want to get them to a point where that is their owned asset. And now you're free and clear. And, look, you own the truck, you get to that point, you go anywhere you want, you can do whatever you want. I could have left Swift years ago. I've owned this truck outright for years. I stay here because I know the system. I've built these relationships that I've been working on for, over 13 years now. And I don't want to do that somewhere else anymore. I make really good money doing what I'm doing when I want to do it, and I don't have to work when I don't want to.
Exactly. So, did you see any other questions in that feed there?
I don't see any right now.
Okay.
Well,
so yeah, so that's pretty much what we have. If there's no other questions that people have, I'm kind of surprised and actually really overjoyed that nobody asked how much money can I make.
Right.
Because both Charlie and I will tell you, and any successful owner operator will tell you, that is the wrong question. Even if you are money focused,
right.
that really is the wrong question. What you need to do is get your start, get that contract, figure out, is this the deal that I want? Yes, no. If it's yes, go get your truck and start out, and then you'll see how you want to run your operation. Because I run my operation one way, Charlie runs his operation another way. I know other owner operators, they run their operation completely different than Charlie and I, and we all make money. I mean, it's not a one size fits all business.
Right.
I focus primarily on efficiency. I keep my fuel costs down by driving my truck 60 miles an hour everywhere. I don't speed. I don't do 70, even though I can. My focus is on efficiency, keeping my costs down, which increases my bottom line. Other people, maybe they're running a FedEx type contract, so their trailers are so light it doesn't matter. So they're doing, floor pedal to the metal all the time.
Right.
But on a 10,000 pound load, who cares? You're not burning that much fuel. So the money bit is much more complicated. It just depends on how you want to run it, and then you focus on being on your business, how you want to run that business, and just being the best at what you do.
I just want to touch on the contract thing real quick. So one thing that I did when I got my very first contract was I actually paid a lawyer to explain this contract. I paid this guy my money out of my pocket to go through the contract. It was, I think it was 54 pages at the time, and it was a ton of legalese. And I'm like, I'm a pretty smart guy. I can understand most of it, but you know, in the legal world, there's phrases that mean something that you don't think they mean. So I paid this guy out of my pocket. I want to say it was right around $1,000 I paid for this guy's time. And we went through that contract line by line. And he told me, you know, do you have any questions? I'm like, what the hell does that mean? How is this going to affect me? What does this mean? You know, what's the liability to me here? And we went through it line by line, and he broke the whole thing down to me. And the you know, one of the things that struck me as being odd at the time was I started seeing all these people afterwards that had never read the contract. The only pages of the contract they ever looked at were the pages they had to initial and sign.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, why didn't you read the contract? They're like, well, they just gave it to me on the day of signing. Well, did you ask for it? No. If you had just asked for it, they would have mailed it to you, emailed it to you, sent it to you, stop by the office, get one. They'll do it. So if any of you guys are seriously thinking about doing this, reach out again to Joanna Sims or Michelle Cantrell and or Ramona in Phoenix. I believe Ramona's in Phoenix. She might be in Edwardsville now. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyhow, reach out to the Swift recruiting department, you know, for the owner op division, and just have them send you a contract. You know, tell them you're interested in the MRP program, or you know, if you want to go that route, a new truck, what have you. You know, those decisions are yours to make. I like I said, I think a brand new truck is a mistake, especially for someone just starting out. But get the contract in your hand. Read that contract. Understand it. If there's anything you don't understand, reach out to Jeff or myself. Reach out to a lawyer. I mean, that's really your best bet. I mean, we can help try and guide you through it to what we understand of it from the years we've been reading these things. Because you know, we get new ones all the time. And if we can't explain it, by all means, look, you're starting a business. Invest in that business and pay for the lawyer. It's going to help you in the long run. But really, with that, unless you got anything else, Jeff, we should probably wrap this thing up, man.
No, I'm good. Just you know, keep us in mind as you go forward. We're here to help. Over on our official Contractors Corner YouTube page, we'll be posting more videos about, you know, the ins and outs of the business. Making sure that you're running a healthy business is going to be one of my focuses. Charlie's been doing a lot of maintenance type videos lately. And if there's something you guys want to see up there, we'll see what we can do to
Yeah, definitely let us know.
that. Let us know what you guys want to know, and we'll see what we can do.
All right, cool. I hope you guys dug this a little bit. I hope someone got something out of it. At least one person. That'd be cool. That'd make me happy.
Yeah.
All right, and we thank you guys for popping in and our little plug. You know, come back and see us on Contractors Corner. We'll see you next time.
All right.